You know what it is, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
You know who it is, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Odie, Mari, Sodi, Mari,
Mari Sodi, Mari Sodi.
black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy.
Hey, oh,
Yes, Mo?
are you ready?
Let's go!
Black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy, black and snurdy. It's the Black and Snurdy podcast with Odie and Maurice.
We're back.
Woo, 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 woo.
We did it. We did it. We successfully returned to the podcast.
That, first of all, I want to say that we should clap that up for ourselves because, thank you.
Actually, nothing was played because I had the volume down, but it's all good.
Okay.
Air horn. There we go.
I think that we should just give us a high, socially distanced high five.
Yes.
Boom.
So just clapping the air.
Because I think that starting something is one thing, being able to continue it after a brief hiatus of vacation is really notable for us. And honestly, I want to say, like, you know that I have my other podcast, but I have not really been going back to it since I took my last pandemic break. But us doing this every week has been encouraging me to get back into it, which is really dope. And I feel like if we can commit to this, then I can commit to that and still be like, just, you know, keeping my word to myself.
Fantastic. Now, just for a little bit of context for the listeners, by the time you listen to this, it'll literally just be from the last episode to this episode. But in real time, when we are actually recording this, we had a bit of a 4-ish week hiatus because Odie went on vacation.
To California love.
Okay, we're gonna get copyright striked if we keep singing it. I gotta pitch that up later.
We're completely not singing the melody or anything at all.
Definitely.
I don't think that they're going. Do you literally have to choose violence at every?
How is that violent?
point?
I don't know what that violence is,
Anyway,
but I will
I was
go
in
ahead.
California. I went to go visit one of
about
my friends. She lives in Sacramento, and we just were like, she's fully vaccinated. I'm halfway vaccinated, soon to be fully vaccinated the rest of this week. But
Congratulations
thank you.
for being halfway there.
Well, 60%, so a little bit more. But she lives in Sacramento, so I went to go see her. I hadn't seen her in a while. And just, you know, no one's really been able to see pretty much anyone. And so I felt safe to take the plane. Thankfully, like, I took JetBlue on my way there. Really great. Nobody was in my seat.
Shout out to JetBlue.
Yes.
This one time. You only get half of air horn. Yeah.
Because, well, one, do you know for long haul flights, which I consider, long haul, anything between 5 to 6 hours, longer than 5 or 6 hours.
Sure.
They give you like regular snacks,
Okay.
but they don't give you like a sandwich. So you have to purchase that. And those sandwiches that you have to purchase were not even available for purchase because of whatever panorama shit is going on. So then all you could buy were these basically like charcuterie boards of cheese and maybe a lean meat. Which I'm like, I don't want to eat that. I'm literally hungry. But thank God I had just came from brunch with my family. So I was able to be full. But like, damn. Anyway, and they don't let you have a free bag anymore. That was the whole thing that JetBlue had. Free bags. Now you got to check in a bag, $35. What is this shenanigans? Anyway, I went to California. It was great. I went to Sacramento. Went to Monterey. Went to San Francisco and Oakland. Which that was my favorite part, to be honest. Went to Napa. And then went back to Sacramento, and it was just a really good break from New York. I feel like the air was just really crisp. California people are really cool and
The crisp
chill.
California people. Honestly, I'm going to leave. The title of this episode is going to be Poppin' Peas Left and Right. Pea popping on the...
popping.
Yes. So tell me about the crisp potato California people.
Well, I want to say the thing about California is that I have not gotten from other states outside of New York, obviously, is the great food culture. You know, of course, you know, tacos or Mexican food.
Yes.
Yes,
Tex-Mex. Or just straight up
Not
Mex.
Tex-Mex, because that would
be in Texas, yes.
I mean, although there are some places in California that do specialize in Tex-Mex.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. Wait for it. Continue.
Yes. But I had really good food from tacos to Italian food, really great seafood. I don't think I had anything I didn't have anything like super different outside of like what I might normally eat. Like I didn't get any Eritrean food, which is very, very popular in Oakland.
Okay.
Or like any soul food, but I just had a lot of tacos and just Mexican food in general.
Did you have anything that was like very specifically regional to California?
Well, okay, I had the most interesting thing that I ate that is regional in a way to California were these lengua or beef tongue tacos.
Oh, okay.
That I got from this taco truck in Oakland, and I found out while we were there that that it's allegedly like the part of Oakland that I guess like tourists don't really come, or like it was also considered like the hood.
Okay. So you went to the hood in Oakland.
Yes, I did, and it was the best taco that I had. One of the top tacos.
Yes,
that I had
top
out
10
there.
tacos. Number 4, beef tongue.
But no, just the taco place in general, like the taco truck. It was such a like Cali moment. I felt like I was in Insecure and I was Issa Rae. They even had the little orange like tables where I always feel like in movies about California, they always have these like outdoor seating at the taco trucks, and it just makes things taste even better. And we had a very random interaction with these Middle Eastern guys who were trying to pick us up. It was a night for the books.
Fantastic.
But yeah, I had a great time.
That's
and
great.
I'm glad to be back here, able to chat with you. And most importantly, I got super chocolatey when I was in California.
You do look more enriched, I would say.
Thank you very much.
Before you looked like Nestle powder, now you look like when you actually stir up the chocolate syrup into the actual milk.
Thank you very much.
Like heavy ladled.
Lots of vitamin D. I will say I got a lot of great use of my Black Girl sunscreen. Go buy that brand. You can get it online. You can also purchase a candle if you get the little box. And it was like $35, which was really great.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll include that in the notes that we'll have for this episode. But it does sound like you had a really good time in California.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I just realized there was one place that I felt like was so great. It's called the Butterhouse in Monterey, and it was a breakfast place, and it was a Filipino AAPI they were AAPI, but they were Filipino and Islander, Pacific Islander, and it was such a great breakfast place. I had lumpia for the first time, which is kind of like similar to like a spring roll, really good. And I had a crab cake, eggs Benedict with avocado. Amazing. And everything on there was so good. I can't wait to go back, and I hope the next time that I go back, they have like an even bigger location. That was it.
That's fantastic. It sounds like your trip from New York to California, the highlight seemed to be various meals that you ate.
Oh,
so
of course.
Shout out to you.
Yes. I saw some other cool stuff. Went to the museum and all that.
Yeah. It's a third of that book, the Eat, Pray, Love. So
most
really
times,
knock Eat out of the park.
When I travel, the main things are when I'm going to find a bunch of good things to eat. I would like to do some sort of walking tour so I can actually see the city. Probably, and also like then find a museum.
Okay.
Those are finding a museum, doing some sort of walking tour, and eating things are my main things to do in a city. And then I find then depending on what type of atmosphere they have, like I do other cool things, but when you travel somewhere and the food's not good, that's really shitty.
Yeah,
I guess that puts a damper on the whole vibe of the trip.
I guess that makes sense. But that's fantastic to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you want to hear about what I did while you were jet setting off to an entirely different coast?
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Yes, I would like to know what you were doing while I was gone.
Okay. Well, hey, don't make me bend your arm to really get this information out for you. One and foremost, as my friend, I missed you. So, when you went off, I decided to spend the majority of that time just sort of like exercising and learning a lot more about GarageBand. We're sadly in the home stretch as far as lockdown is concerned. And everything right now, it's just the beginning of sort of like the summertime where people are starting to dip their toes out into non-social distancing, non-wearing masks because there's no longer a mandate for it or the world in general. Everything is opening back up. And after the summer, it'll probably be the next few steps when it comes to no longer working from home, people having to go back into the office in some way, shape, or form. So during this time, I've been exercising like crazy in ways where I literally would not be able to if I'm cooped up in an office building all day. Unless that office building has a built-in gym, which it doesn't. But side note, the company that I work for might just try to do some bullshit like that to entice people to stay in the office longer.
That's
I'm onto your psychology. Just because you have a freaking bumper pool table doesn't mean that I'm gonna stay past 6 o'clock to get more reports done for the next day. My time is my time. Get out of here. So I spent that time just sort of bettering myself, exercise, and learning a little bit more about GarageBand. There might be a section in this podcast episode where I make somebody's voice sound like they're on a telephone. Ooh, Chekhov's telephone voice.
Is that how the voice is going to sound?
No. But let's say this section right here, this is exactly how it's going to sound. I'm really going to commit myself to remembering to do this in editing. But enough about that. Why don't we get to the fun stuff that we missed with our pop culture section? Cool. All right. So what do we have first?
Well, I feel like there's something very important that we need to talk about. I don't know if you are aware of the bonnet situation, Bonnetgate.
I am not. What is Bonnetgate?
Basically, a few weeks ago, I don't remember when it was exactly because it's just kind of been making its way around social media. There was a picture of women at the airport, all in bonnets, and they were black women, of course.
Okay.
And of course, someone took a picture of them and went to social media and was like, why? Of course, they all are in bonnets, like trying to shame them. And so that has spurred this whole like other thing, like people are doing these think pieces, which I hate because they're dumb, but think pieces and open letters about whether bonnets is okay to wear at work, if they're not, or outside of the house, if they are okay to wear outside of the house. Now, quick, not.
Just for a little bit of context, are these people who are creating these think pieces about if they shouldn't not? Hold on, did this start because of some white chicanery or some white confusion? I just want to know.
It was black. Well, from what I know, a black person posted up the picture and was like, "Why do black women have to be out here in the bonnets making us look bad?"
Oh, it's one of those.
It was that type of thing.
Okay, it's one of those.
And then everybody started giving their own personal opinions. Monique weighed in with a problematic opinion. Auntie Monique, love you, but it was very problematic.
What did she say?
She basically was like, what does she call people? Beloveds?
Beloveds, yeah.
I feel like all older black women, like 45 and above, call people beloveds.
Which is strange if you've definitely seen.
Yeah, because that movie was fucking so scary and sad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, whatever. Anyway, she got on her regular IGTV, but she wasn't dressed up. She was in like a robe talking about, I want you to love yourselves, beloved. My babies, that's what she calls us, my babies. And she was like, I love you for real, but I just feel like when you go out, you need to be putting on your best self, and da-da-da. Just like putting that whole, like, when you look good, you feel good, and we need to make sure that when people are seeing us, they're giving us respect because we look good It's just respectability politics.
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing is? Like or maybe I don't know if it's irony or it's funny, but it's weird that it's either way. It's weird that it's Monique saying this after her whole like Netflix campaign of like, how is it that Amy Schumer and her mush face got whatever, like you know what I mean, like that whole thing. But we're on some respectability politics, So,
but I think it's also someone tweeted this. I'm sorry, I forget who it is, but they were like, Monique, black women in bonnets are literally how you gained your platform.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely watched every single episode of The Parkers.
Do you know I was not allowed, like The Parkers was one of those shows I was not allowed to watch because my mom said it gave a negative stereotype about black women.
It really did. It gave the impression that y'all all have one white friend who goes to school with you.
When you
jokes.
When you think about the show, I just remember during the intro, I feel like they were crawling on the ground in like these animal print like tight clothes, and I thought it was just like a funny kind of show, even though sometimes I was like, it is weird that she's like, it was like kind of every stereotype about black women. Yeah. About especially bigger, darker skinned black women. They can't get a man. They're always thirsting after somebody and hot to trot. They are loud and ghetto and don't have any sense. And
for some reason, always somehow getting involved in some multi-layer pyramid scheme, because that's definitely like an entire arc of hers.
Oh, nobody likes them because they're big. They hate skinny women, like just all of those. So I mean, most of those '90s UPN shows when you watch them back are a bit problematic, but it is just very ironic, as you said, that she's the one coming out with that. But I remember there's a group on Facebook that I'm in now called Bonnetgate, because black women were just like, it was a variety, the responses of people who were like pro bonnet. It was just like just myriad of answers of either I may not wear bonnets outside, but I don't really give a fuck if someone's wearing them. I do wear bonnets outside, and I'm a fucking doctor, so who the fuck cares? And just like why are black women always being policed?
Right.
Yes. And so it was the whole thing with
that was the crux of it. Did you hear that the previous president was pro bonnet?
Are you talking about Barack Obama?
No, I'm talking about Barack Obama. Anyhow.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
I don't even have the appropriate drop.
I don't even know what could be the appropriate drop for that.
Oh, easy. And I'm going to Maurice, put it in right here.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
That's the one.
But what else do we got on the pop culture list?
Okay, let's see. I did see... Okay, so this one is actually not, humorous, but it is very interesting. I would talk about Naomi leaving the French Open. You want to fill us in with that?
Okay. So Naomi Osaka had been fined by the French Tennis Association because she, at one of the previous matches, she had declined speaking to the media. So she basically had given the reason that it's not good for her mental health to be talking to people who are doubting her, and just basically, pouring salt in the wound if you lose, or like just kind of bringing you down. It's similar to, remember, I don't know if you've seen that commercial, or either Venus or Serena Williams at like 14, and the journalist keeps asking her like, what makes you think that you're the best? And her father's like, she already gave you an answer. She's 14. You don't need to keep asking these questions. And I thought about that when initially she came out and spoke about the situation, and it's like, from that, not speaking with the press, now she's penalized and she's fined. And she was basically like, fine me. I hope you put the money to charity towards mental health for athletes or whatever.
Right.
And so following that, she decided that she was going to withdraw and take her dope ass reason why people buy tickets self out of the tournament, because she didn't need it. And I think that it was kind of not surprising to me, because I remember this was a few months ago. She was, I forget which tournament it was, where she had bowed out because she was saying she missed her family back home.
Right.
And so, she's been, I feel like, taking care of herself mentally for this last year, which she has to because she's so young, but she has been dealing with this backbiting kind of press situation for so long.
I feel like just even in general, I guess this isn't really in general, but when it comes to black athletes who are just superior in whatever field or sport they're in, there's the initial pressure of being the literal best of your division, of your field, of your game, of your sport, what have you. And then there's the added other pressure of being black while being at the top of your game, and then everything racially that comes with it, like all of this, are you as good as Anna Kournikova, whatever whatever her bullshit name is, every time Serena Williams, who would knock the fuck out of Anna Kendrickova, whatever the fuck her name is, like, but every single time that Serena Williams is doing something that has nothing to do with her, like, they keep bringing her up as if they're even in the same, they're in the same sport, not the same league, sis. So just having, at least witnessing the fact that she is being mindful to look after her mental health, look after the things that she prides herself on, like her family, that's fuck you money to be able to say, I'll pay the fine in order to have a good sense of self.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when you're talking about black women athletes having so much of more of a struggle, I don't know if you had heard about Simone Biles. I think it was about a week or two ago. She was performing at like the preliminary events for the upcoming Tokyo Olympic finals. And she did a triple Yuchenko double pike, triple pike, which is something that has been like the only other person to even get like a 1.5 Yuchenko. It was like not Simone Biles, Dominique Dawes, and it was so difficult that they penalized Dominique for doing it and banned the move because none of the white people were getting it. And then like basically, and so when Simone Biles did one recently, they gave her like a 6.5 out of 10 because they were like, well, it was too difficult. And if people think that she gets higher scores for that, they're going to be trying to do it and might hurt themselves. And so when they asked her, well, why would you do it if it's so difficult? She was like, because I can. Yeah. Why would I not? And so it's like for them to be now in this way of like pushing back about Naomi wanting to protect her mental health. Why would you do this? And all these like think pieces because she can. Yeah. Because who else? Not only like, she has both been going up against the regular top greatest players, but also she's defeated Serena Williams at least once or twice. Twice, because the most recent one was this last year. And it's like, if you know that you can beat the person who's basically unbeatable, unless it's like they're having a terrible day, you are gonna do shit that people probably without that type of platform and privilege are gonna do. She already has made enough money to support herself and her family. She has endorsements. She has her new play league that's bringing tennis to girls in Oakland in LA and in Haiti. It's like there's no way that she's going to be like 10 years from now, whether or not she still wants to play tennis or not, she's good, like financially.
Yeah, she's solid. She's also like, I also just in general believe that when they go about penalizing these individuals who are clearly the best, and most importantly, who are drawing eyes on your sport because we are there to support them, all that really does is shoot them in the fucking foot. Yeah. Like, anytime, remember, look, all I will say is that I didn't give two squirts about the French Open until she was performing, and then I'm actually just sitting there kind of watching it on my phone, you know? Yeah. Now that she's out, I'm bowed out too. I'll just go back to watching WWE's shitty episodes of Raw on Monday night.
Do you want to know the best part?
What?
That she bowed out of the French Open on the last day of, like, it was like Haitian American Heritage Month or Haitian Flag Day. You can You can put
Shout
it.
out to Haitian Flag Day.
Sac passe, ma boule. So it was that just added the cherry on top, because I don't know if you know this, but France had Haiti paying reparations to them for losing the war. And they've still been basically doing a bunch of imperialist bullshit on the island.
Well, of course.
To try to pay them back for becoming the first Black republic on the Western Hemisphere, because Black people are dope as fuck since forever and have always been beating the odds since forever. So yeah, that's what happened with her, and I'm just really but you know what? All the people, movie stars, other athletes, even Stephen A. Smith was yelling about how great she is. He loves to yell.
Yeah, of
but
course.
he was like, opened up about his own depression and why it's important for her to be able to have this platform to spread awareness. And I thought it was like she's having solidarity at the very least from Black people and some others. So I feel like she's good, and I'm glad that she's taking a stand, because it's very important. A lot of these athletes, they start out so young, and then once they're 30 plus and maybe they're not playing anymore, you kind of get swept to the side. Look at what happened to Allen Iverson, one of our greatest basketball players, but yet and still it was like financially really in dire straits until most recently, where I think that people started looking at his story and kind of like, what can we do to help? But they don't care about you. They just care about what you can do for them, the money that you can bring in, which is why they don't care about football and CTE. They don't care about, these players being taken advantage of in any of the sports by their accountants and all that. Like, they leave them to basically squander after they're done pumping them out of everything that they could even do. So I'm all here for it, and I love it. Congratulations, Naomi, on being a badass.
Shout out to you again, Naomi. Now, I feel like it is about time for us to talk about what apparently is one of my favorite recurring topics up on here, because recently Swizz Beatz and Timbaland had a versus over Memorial Day. Shout out to Memorial Day. Not the actual holiday. I want to make that very clear. I mean the ability to go to the beach, because the beach is open up on Memorial Day. But we
should be happy about Memorial Day, specifically because it was actually Black slaves or Black enslaved people who started the first Memorial Day, because they were burying Black soldiers of the Civil War. So we can acknowledge the dopeness of our forefathers and our ancestors in being able to say, like, we fought for this country, we've built this country, thank you for your service, without also like being like, yes, we're a dope imperialist country who loses great people who could be alive today if we weren't being such a warmonger.
Okay.
So,
well,
duality.
I didn't know that. So, dope. We made Memorial Day, y'all. And that's kids cheering. Now, but yeah, so going back to the thing that I was saying, I believe we were talking about Swizz Beatz and Timbaland, who had their versus round 2 on Memorial Day.
I saw round 1.
I did see round 1, but I did not watch it this past Memorial Day. I believe it is available on the Versus channel
on Twitter, not Twitter,
YouTube.
No, what is that? They're on that thing, Thriller. That's their new
right. That's where you
place that you could broadcast it.
That's where you could broadcast it live. You could also watch. I think they put up the full ones after, like, either a few days or a week after they do it live on their actual channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's how I had to watch the Alicia Keys John Legend performance.
I still haven't seen that one. I feel like I was gonna fall asleep.
You know what? Good? It is really good.
Wait, was Alicia Keys singing live, or was it?
They were both in the same room. They were both basically dueling pianos.
Oh, but was she singing?
Yes, she was. Like, they were both like, yeah, they were actually singing because they were on their piano singing. Yeah, well, either way, that has nothing. Well, no, that is not true. It is very relatable to because it falls under verses. So apparently, this past weekend was Memorial Day round 2, Swizz Beatz versus Talib Kweli, and that's not who it was.
Definitely not.
Actually, as a side note, I will say that Most Def and Talib Kweli would be like a fine, chill sort of versus. But it's
super
Swizz Beatz.
problematic, and we no longer can support him because he bullies black women.
Talib Kweli or
Yeah.
Mos Def?
No, Talib Kweli.
Okay. And you know what the funny thing is? I have no problem with not listening to a Talib Kweli verse because no one can name a freaking Talib Kweli verse from beginning to end.
Oh,
You
can't.
might be able to name the song or whatever. And I only really remember that because of that one line in Get 'Em High on Kanye West song where he's like, Talib Kweli's lyrics stick to your ribs. That has never been a freaking line from Talib Kweli that's stuck in my brain, let alone my ribs.
Same.
Anyhow, but yeah, it was the Timbaland versus Swizz Beatz versus. And apparently, at certain points, Swizz Beatz took shots at good old Justin Timberlake.
Do you want me to read what he said?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, Timbaland started playing one of his songs, some of his songs he did with Justin, Cry Me a River and Sexy Back. And then Swizz was like, until you can get Justin on verses, I don't really want to hear those vocals. And he was like, he was like, Justin, let the world know that Justin got to come out. He's coming out. And I was like, well, I know it's Pride Month. What way does he have to come out? But he said he got to admit that he loved black culture and he got to be on this stage. You took from the black culture, you got to give to the black culture. Come to Versus and be a part of black culture. And afterwards, Timberlake, or sorry, this website has it misspelled. Timberland came on his IG live to defend Justin and was like, you went a little hard on my brother JT though. You went too hard, man. And then Swizz Beatz was just like, look, man, I had to go hard. Did you hear how that songs were sounding on that stage? You and JT, it was like JT in the building. I was like, man, I don't got no problem with JT. Don't got no problem with nobody. Shout out to JT. We can't wait to get you on the stage having fun because you deserve it too. And just as a side note, they dedicated this verses to DMX and Aaliyah because they worked with them a lot, and obviously R.I.P. DMX and Aaliyah.
R.I.P. DMX and Aaliyah. I seriously wonder if that's the only reason why he has collaborated with Justin so many times, is because they both have Timber in their names and shit. Because you were over there stubbing Timberlake and Timbaland in the article.
Website,
yeah.
They misspelled it probably because as a person who writes things, I can imagine thinking Timberland and actually putting Timberlake. It's only a 2-letter difference.
Yeah, of course.
So now, what are your thoughts on this whole Swizz? Did you feel like he was coming for him? Is it as scandalous as they made it seem on the Shade Room?
Well, it's essentially the same argument that I've always had, especially documented on this podcast, about white musical artists who will come into black culture and just become the biggest hits have the biggest hits with us of all time, and they change up their hair and they add a little bit more slight edge and aggression to them, and then and basically just like make up all of this money and fame and stardom utilizing our beats, our drums, our sounds, and and then as they get older, they look back and they're just like, oh no, those days are gone. I want to go a whole different way. And either it goes mad successful and they just fuck off away from black culture, just the goodwill that they had, just take it with them and just say, oh nope, I already got what I wanted, and they fuck off
forever.
Or they stay around too long and they become not Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber.
Oh,
in his Grinch finger dreads.
But he did cut them off. I saw he cut them off recently.
Well, good for him.
Thank God.
Good for him. Good for him and good for the earth.
Us.
Good for the earth.
and good for everyone not having to smell whatever cockamamie bullshit he put in his hair to make it look like that. But either way, I definitely hear what you're saying. I think that I personally do not want to see Justin Timberlake on that stage. And this is coming from somebody who legitimately, as a tween and a teen girl, would like cry at the thought that I was like in love with him and would never be able to like.
You do seem like the type of person.
Oh, completely.
And I was also in love with him too. I'm not shaming you. I'm just saying like.
I remember when he had this one cover on, I want to say it might have been ET or like Teen Magazine, but he was like, they had like it looked like they put like a filter on him, like a Valencia filter. His body was just like super glistening. He didn't have a shirt on. And
How else would his
13-year-old
body
me,
be glistening if he had a shirt on?
his arms could have been out. Why must you literally poke holes?
I wasn't
in
poking
things?
holes. I
Anyway,
was
shush.
adding context.
I'm retelling you a story. God. Anyway, I was so enamored with this photo that I made it like all of the computers, like the shared family computer at my dad's house. I made it the background, so I know my dad would be doing work, and it would be like this freaking shirtless picture of Justin Timberlake.
Just didn't give a fuck.
I did not. I was in love.
You really wanted to have a conversation with your dad.
I was just in love with him. Like, honestly, up until I want to say very recently, you really couldn't tell me anything about Justin Timberlake that I wouldn't have tried to like justify.
Get it?
Yes. But
No, it's just fine. It's fine.
I just feel like more recent, what did I say, last 2 years or so, a lot more information has been coming out that I just cannot ignore. And I want to say it might have even really gotten solidified with the whole Britney doc, because I felt like we always had a bitter taste in our mouth because of what happened with Janet.
Yeah, of course.
But first, the Britney doc came out.
Yeah, which we discussed on this podcast on a few episodes ago.
And then I saw some kind of his responses to that, which I thought were bullshit.
We also discussed that too. Continue.
And then I think we might have also discussed the part where he was like liking people's tweets from his personal account about like the whole Janet situation and like how it was just like it seemed very shady. Excuse me. So like to me, I don't think that I think he is a culture vulture. He might be a more talented one, like who I think, he's very attractive, he's very talented, he can sing, he can dance.
Yeah.
But I have no more like goodwill for him. And honestly, I have this theory that like I feel like it's going to be my doctoral thesis or something, that men and white people are treated like 2-year-olds. And this is what it is. When a 2-year-old does something as simple as clap their hands after someone performs, everyone goes crazy, right? And so men and white people get that sort of praise for literally doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
A man actually stays at home and takes care of his children while his wife, who was like way smarter and had a way better job, goes to work, and he's applauded as a super dad.
Yeah, it's
a white man.
Yeah. No, you literally, I get it. Like
jiggle on the beat, and it's like
we literally just had that reverse example of that with Simone Biles. It's just like white people can't do like extraordinary things, but we're penalized. Meanwhile, it's literally just called white mediocrity.
Yeah,
white people can literally simply just go up into the system and just like do the most basic bitch things. And yes, I call it a basic bitch shit because it's no longer Lent and I can curse, and I'll still do push-ups because I look great. But also, as you just said, it's literally just the most basic stuff. They can't like rise to the occasion. They can't like be mad like skilled or hone be top of their field or anything like that based on skill alone. It's just, hey, it's just, you know what? I was able to clap my hands, snap my fingers, and wear a Jerry Curl cornrow thing on my head, and now all of a sudden I am shaking ass with 2 Chainz in the music video.
I mean, I think it's that like white supremacy has done such and this is not saying that like, oh, black people only love white people, like love things because white people said yes, but it's so much that like when
unpack that sentence. Sorry. It's
black
not
people. It's not that black people are only excited about white people enjoying our things because it's like a white person enjoying it makes it great.
No, not at all.
However, I think that we get so surprised because of how white people literally treat anything that has to do with like non-whiteness, specifically non-Anglo-Saxonness. Because anytime, if you're any
why
other
are you
type
over
of white,
here? Why would you be over here? We're doing We're doing dope shit with the very minimum of shit that we have. Why are you over here? That's surprising, essentially, right?
No, more so it's just that like you have majority of white people condemn the bare minimum things that anything that we have. So the fact that a white person's here, it is, yes, why are you here? But it's like, oh, okay, well, you're trying to like come and enjoy our culture. You're trying to understand who we are. You have appreciation for who we are. Why wouldn't I want to like enjoy that with you?
Yeah.
However, since white people have not allowed us to be like, oh yeah, come and enjoy this food that we have. Why? Because you're gonna give us fucking smallpox blankets and be super ungrateful and commit genocide. It's like when you see like Sam Whiteout, who's the white Kappa. There's nothing wrong with him. I have never seen him say anything problematic. He's very super. He went to an HBCU, and that's where he became a Kappa.
Yeah.
And he always seems to be very woke and understanding the issues. And it's like, yeah, you went to an HBCU. If you wanted to join a fraternity, like that's a D9 is what there is. But as much as he understands the culture and tries to be, a quote unquote ally, whenever you see white people in D9 organizations, they get uplifted and famous, kind of, because they can shimmy, or they can hold up the dynasty sign real well,
right? And
now people are looking at them as them like, oh, they're so cool. When reality is, when you look at their whole line,
they were just average.
They're just average. They're not even the best line. They're not even the best like stepper or anything on their line.
They stick out like a sore thumb, and therefore that's where all the attention goes. It's white mediocrity. It's just literally just being uplifted by essentially just doing nothing and being white.
But
there you go. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? But we don't need Justin to be on the verses.
Yes.
He's not allowed in that sacred black space.
Exactly. And I'm not even gonna hazard whom he would go up against because I don't care. I really don't care. And that is justified to me. Okay.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I wish you could really appreciate the drop that I just did. But either way, that's been pop culture section. I am a little bit parched, and I think we should take a quick break.
Awesome.
All right. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Black and Snurdy Podcast.
It was love at first sight. I know from the way she looked at me. Her eyes said it all. Days and nights we spent until she dropped the bomb on me. When she said that she was unhappily married with children, and I wish I never met her at all, even though I love her so. She got love for me. But she still belongs to someone else. I have a quick question about one of the lyrics. He says when she said that she was unhappily married with children, is it that she's unhappily married and she also has children, or she's unhappily married and unhappily a mother?
I think the way that she's phrased. Unhappily married.
But time out.
I don't hear anything else in there. And do you not recall the video? Do you not remember how happy she was with her kids?
Oh man, this isn't like a Drew Hill situation where we watched the music videos before we started recording. I vaguely remember he was wearing a thick wool turtleneck because that's what everybody was wearing back then. Probably
she's in the park playing with her kids. They're having a great time.
That's when he found out that she was unhappily married.
She had told him that before, but like this, when he says the whole thing about she told him that she was unhappily married with children. I think either at that moment or right after, I remember he like sees her at the park with the kids and her husband.
How long were they talking that he fell in love with her and she at no
Listen.
point had a ring or even the shadow of a wedding ring?
I think that in the I want to say in the music video, she like is always hiding it or something. I don't know. I haven't seen that video in like 20 years.
I don't
so
know.
I really cannot tell you.
I guess this brings up a really good question. Can you fall in love with somebody if you don't have any contact with their hand at all? Because I feel like if you're holding a hand, you can feel kind of like the indentation of a ring
But if
that
the
used to be
person
there. or
always
something.
takes it off. I mean, I wear rings sometimes I wear rings every day, sometimes I don't.
But that's the point.
But I think that you would have to be, that would have to be something that you were like really, really looking for to be like, ooh, I wonder if your finger feels extra pruny today because you had a ring on.
You have been in a situation when you're both laying there and you're doing that fun thing where like y'all touch each other's hands or caress each other's hands, and if you don't, then that's not a judgment for me to cast. I just feel like you could probably figure that shit out.
I think that unless you have had
How long were they dating?
a situation where that may have been an issue, I just don't think people when you're in that early stages where it's all like love and freaking rainbows, I don't think that that's something that you're even thinking about.
Her hand.
And honestly, I would say that generally women are better at cheating than men.
Yeah.
And will probably make, like, if there was something that like, oh, maybe he would think about this, we'd be thinking about it to be like, oh, I want to make sure I don't do that so that my cover's not blown. So yeah, I think that I would have to rewatch the video, but I want to say they had something where she was like showing that she was hiding her ring.
Sure. Either way, we're back. From outer space. That's right.
Turn around now. With that sad look upon your face, I thought I'd change that stupid lock. I thought I'd made you give back your key. If I would have thought for just 1 second, you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go out the door. Don't turn around now, 'cause you're not welcome anymore. All right. I haven't done that in a very long time.
I know.
I needed it to get it out.
I just wish you could hear what I was hearing just now as you were doing it. That's all I wish. And no, it's not even for the reason that you're sitting there with that face.
I don't
thinking.
know what reason it is. I was just singing.
Well, yeah. Anyhow, we did catch some of it. So it's now time, I think, for us, especially since we haven't either really had a discussion since you came back from vacation, nor have we really, talked about it before we even started recording. But here we go. It's Watch Out Now, a quick section where we talk about pop culture stuff that usually it's stuff that we watch together. But since you've been on vacation, you've been watching and listening to some stuff. I've been watching, listening to some stuff. Let's go real quick, tit for tat. What did you get to see in the last month since we recorded?
Well, I have been, of course, going into my regular scheduled programming, which is Grey's Anatomy and Law & Order SVU. And so a few things that I've recently either started or finished. I finished The Good Place.
Yes.
I am currently watching this show on Netflix called Special. Mm-hmm. And I've watched the first episode of a new Netflix show called High on the Hog. Ooh. Oh, and the last one, which was also a super surprise that I started watching on the plane to California, was We're Here.
Okay, so of the three, hit me with two of them. Let me see, which one are you enamored with the most out of those three?
I mean, they're all kind of really different. Mm-hmm. High on the Hog is about basically this black guy is traveling to Africa, and I think he's going to be in Americas as well. Mm-hmm. And he's basically tying that foods across the African diaspora of what things that we ate on the continent, things that we ate during the transatlantic slave trade and all that. Is
this a reality show or is this?
Yeah, it's reality.
Okay, so yeah.
It's kind of someone tried to describe it as an Anthony Bourdain, but honestly, now I want to say I do like this show. Mm-hmm. but I've only watched one episode, but I feel like I'm not getting that charm, that Anthony Bourdain charm from this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's cute. He has nice teeth. I want to say his voice is interesting for the content that we're getting. But I'm gonna keep with it because I feel like the historical information, like on the first episode, they went to the point of no return in Benin, which I think is really important for all people of the diaspora to really like be tapped into things like this, because I feel like these are the type of shows that are going to be ending the stupid diaspora wars that we're always getting. And then special is about Ryan O'Connell's story about this guy who has a gay guy with cerebral palsy, and him like navigating his life, trying to be more independent, which is really dope. And The Good Place, I had honestly started watching it when it first came out and completely fell off. So it's only been recently during quarantine that I came back and started really watching it again and realized how much I loved it. And then I watched the final piece, which was really good. It was really smart. It made me sad that it's gone. I wish there was some way that they could kind of come back from all those what was it, Baramies?
Come back from the Jeremy Baramies.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the 3 shows. What about you? What have you been watching?
Okay, mine is a little bit more spread out, and at least one of them I would really like. For anybody who's listening, I highly recommend you watch Final Space. It comes on Saturday nights as part of, I believe, the Adult Swim portion on Cartoon Network, or even if you have access to the Adult Swim app. It is a high sci-fi comedy with like more action leanings than just straight up comedy. And the reason why I'm highly supporting it, one, I do love the humor. The first season, it's a little bit finding its footing type thing, but ever since the second season, like, it's story driven, it goes into high gear. A lot of the concepts are great, and the storytelling is so well done as far as character development and as far as like overarching long form storytelling of like creating this world, creating this mythos, creating well-rounded characters. It's really great. But of course, with a lot of animations that are animated series that are story driven and aren't just like you could drop into one random episode and, you know, you could follow everything like that, it's likely that it's just going to have 3 seasons and then it will be, you know, canceled. I say if anybody watches, I would say you could start first season. I would even say you should start at the very beginning of the second season, because that's when everything comes into place and that's when everything clicks into gear. I would highly recommend you going to watch it and supporting it online, tweeting about it, so that more story-driven animated series that are aimed more at adults, older teenagers, you know, the friggin' 21 to 35 demos, what have you, that all marketing people are aiming for. I say support them, because otherwise we're going to get a lot of just dumbed down nonsense, and they have their place in animation, but we need a wider range of various types of stories that only animation can tell. So that's my recommendation. I'm also watching wrestling. AEW on Wednesday nights. AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights. Currently one of the better wrestling divisions or wrestling brands. It's an alternative to WWE. Most of that stuff is just sloppy nonsense, but the athletes, the wrestlers, the performers, the talent are top notch. A lot of the best, like, long-term, again, I don't know if you could tell, I'm into long-term storytelling.
Yes.
I'm into character development. I'm not into just like, you know, dumbed down nonsense. So AEW Dynamite, I'm watching that on a weekly basis. It's fantastic. If you're into animation or if you're into wrestling, boom, I've got you covered. I also, much like you, finished The Good Place, and now I am finishing the last season of Kim's Convenience.
Oh, I've been hoarding Kim's Convenience. So I'm on, like, I have a few more episodes of that to finish. I also got to catch up. Well, I might be a few episodes behind now, but This Is Us. I feel like I've caught up for the majority of that. Because while I was in California, and I started watching The Magicians again. And actually, The Magicians I thought was going to be too scary for me to watch by myself, but it's actually not that bad. Yeah, because
But
sometimes
it's on like TNT.
Yeah, but no, I don't think whatever. It's not TNT. Whatever it is, they get really graphic on Netflix with that. So even if it's whatever they do it, they get really graphic and gory sometimes. Like we watched a guy get his eyes blown out and a woman's heart ripped out. Like,
And this is on The Magicians?
yeah. So I've been watching that. I did start that new show, Jupiter's Legacy. And
You're right. It aired on Sci-Fi.
yeah, and sci-fi shows are always very, like, when they can be, they're super gory.
I don't necessarily. I feel like sci-fi shows, sci-fi movies tend to be more of the gory type, especially like when they were. I feel like it was Sci-Fi who went down that whole road of Shark Tornado.
Yeah,
like,
that was them.
So gory that it was campy. But whereas some of the actual Sci-Fi shows, they do that, they skirt the line where it's just like somebody's head got exploded, but they never actually show it. They just imply it type stuff.
Yeah,
I know
but
that's
once
your
you're on Netflix,
genre of choice.
Once you're on Netflix, you can kind of pretty much do more. So I think that was what opened them up. But it's a really good show. It's from a Neil Gaiman book. Is it Neil Gaiman? I might be confusing it. Either way, I have actually the books here.
No, by Lev Grossman.
Thank you, Lev Grossman.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman. I feel like that's the
American Gods.
American Gods, yeah.
But I do want to read it. I want to say this is a funny story. Well, not funny story.
Yeah, it's a story. I'll be the judge if it's funny.
I have gotten I think I have all 3 books in the series from my book adventures when I walk around Brooklyn. So it's one of my Brooklyn books, and but I haven't had a chance to read them. I have a lot of books, obviously, as you know.
Of course.
So I haven't read it yet, but I'm curious to read it because I want to see if some of the characters, if they're still in the book. And how their character development is there compared to being on the show, because some of the things on the show are they get a little spicy. I mean, it is definitely not like a kid's magic book. Like, I feel like it's an adult Harry Potter, just with the way that the scenes, like the way that the scenarios are.
So it's like a slightly more mature YA. So it's like it's OYA, older, younger.
No, I think
adult.
it's adult.
So it's then it's just adult.
I never said it was.
You said it's like more mature Harry Potter,
I'm just talking about for the fact that it's like magical. They're in a school, but it's about
so it's
Harry Potter esque.
All right, so it's a fantasy sort of genre. Okay,
it's sci-fi.
There you go. All right, I think we should take another quick break and then come back.
Sure.
Wrap this whole thing up. All right, BRB.
You're listening to the Black and Snurdy Podcast.
I want to know what during this time period in the last 3 weeks has gotten under your skin, annoyed you, irked you, bothered you. What's grinding you?
I have 3 things. The first 2 are going to be short.
Okay.
So, one thing that's pissing me off.
Okay.
Is that the United States finally declassified this super secret document about UFO sightings that the Air Force or whatever, I feel like they were in the Air Force or the Navy, that they saw these videos of like all these different unidentified flying objects zipping around, going in the water and doing all these little death dives that nobody's plane in any part of the world knows how to do. And they finally came out with this damn report and they're just like, we cannot conclude that there are or there are not interstellar people or like aliens or whatever. Advanced species. What I want to say is, we already know that there's somebody out there, okay? For one, you cannot be so egotistical to believe that you are the only person to be in a literal, like a galaxy amongst galaxies. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's whatever our sci-fi movies are telling us about people in space, that they all look different or they have all these magical powers or anything like that. But just for the fact that, like, yeah, there could be other people out there in whatever way people, there could be other beings out there that have technology to come visit us. Whether or not they're going to interact, probably not, because they see how fucking assholey we are to each other. So why would they? Just say what it is. We know it's out there. And honestly, I just cannot wait. I don't want the time that we have a discussion about aliens to be when they are at our front door in the sky and then they're debating about, well, what are we going to do with them? Because my thing is, I don't believe you need to be a shoot first, ask questions later person. I think that you are it should be like an observe, let's send a delicate situation out. Because if somebody can fly a plane or a unidentified flying object to our planet and be able to like get through our atmosphere and all that shit that our rockets barely can do at times, I'm not trying to make them angry by shooting them, because that just don't make no damn sense. So I feel like we need to just tell people this thing now. They can get it into their heads, and then we can make a plan. So when they finally decide they have matured enough for us to come over there and say hello to them, then we will be prepared and we will not be scared. And we can, just, I want it to feel like a smooth transition versus a hellfire apocalypse that, turns into World War III.
Sure.
Okay, that's the one thing, because I
Yes.
was annoyed by that.
That is the one thing.
Wait, no, I have two more.
No, I know. I know. That's why I'm saying that's the one thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm just teeing you up for the next thing.
Oh, all right. You said it like I wasn't going to be allowed to say it. All right, anyway. So, this one is far less interesting. Well, not interesting, but like, I guess, good-natured problem. This teacher in a Yonkers school was forcing, not teacher, principal, it was a female principal at a school in Yonkers, like a prep school, was making her secretary take pictures of her, like take sex pictures of her to send to her. When a woman is married and she's messing with someone else, are they called a mister? Like the way that it's a mistress? I think it's a mister.
I refer to him as a side dick.
Okay, well, she was making her do these things, and it's a magnet school, a Robert C. Dodson school in the Yonkers, and so the principal's name was Evelina Medina, and the woman that she made take these pictures of her and receive pictures from her lover, was named Giselle Vasquez, and it was just really shitty because she was making her do all this. Other people in the school were sexually harassing her, like assistant principals and assistant vice principals. Were like one of them kissed her, which is really inappropriate. They were just being really gross. She's suing them though, so I hope she wins every penny. But it just grinds my gears that the fact I feel like that what made me really annoyed in the story was that she went to HR so many times, and all HR did was basically make her life a living hell because they didn't do anything. She was literally saying, hey, this is what they're doing to me, and like they would basically pass her letters off and just be like, oh, sorry, or thanks, or whatever. And even though knowing that the principal, when she found out she was trying to like switch to another school, purposely went to that principal and was like, don't hire her, she's bad, knowing that she wasn't. She just wanted to continue having her there to like be her little scapegoat or whatever for her sexual dalliances. That was fucked up. but I hope that she sues the whole school district and gets enough money to pay for her kids, all 3 of her kids. I think she has 3 kids, child tuition. The last thing that was grinding my gears is something that it feels like it's something out of a fucking movie, but I think I told you Mercury's retrograde, and during that time, communications, shitty. Sometimes news stories break that are like completely like crazy news you would not have expected. You just never know. So it's a time where sometimes chaos can reign. And of course, Ellie Kemper, who you would know from The Office and The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, she has been outed as she was like the queen of this. She was a beauty queen of this St. Louis secretive veiled prophet ball in 1999. And apparently the veiled prophet ball was affiliated with the local KKK for a very long time. And I think they didn't even let black people join this group until 1979, which is like, why would I want to join there? But I mean, there have been Carsons every timetable. So people have been finding this out, and now they are just kind of ripping into her. Now it's interesting because it's like, yeah, at 19 she did this. So can we say that she's still that same person? I don't know, but I definitely think that it makes me kind of look at the shows and her characters differently. And I think what grinds my gears is that people kind of just want to, they don't want to just say the truth about what this group is. They keep trying to say, no, it's no big deal, like, or she was just 19. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of those people who were at fucking Capitol, some of them were in their young 19, 20, 21. There are people who are right now who are, like, training to be a part of these QAnon white supremacist groups who are 16, 17. And I am not someone to say that people cannot learn how to change, because I think they definitely can when they are introduced with information that they can digest and, you know, mature to learn more things than what they've just been told all their lives. But that's still difficult unless you've had those experiences. So I just feel like it's really shitty that I can't have one white woman that I enjoy without there being some fuck shit to come out that makes me not want to, like, love any of their stuff anymore. It's really upsetting me and my homegirls, because I love Kimmy Schmidt. I literally have just been rewatching the last season and doing that whole, I'm on the last episode where you do the whole, like, build the story or whatever, and it's so fun. And it's like, who knows why she was the queen or whatever. It could have been they give you a scholarship and she was going to Princeton. So, like, yeah, why not take the money?
Maybe she was the one who was the most pale.
I don't know. It just, you know, I think that on one hand, I feel as if we all have old posts that we have up. Like, I personally, I don't know if I would ever go and, like, scrub my social media from tweets, because I've gotten memories of things that I wrote or that I were tagged in that were hella problematic. But at the time, whether, like, most of them I was like 25 and under, it was like I didn't realize how problematic they were. And now I would never say anything like that or think something like that. But at the time, I was still ignorant to X. And so do people have the ability to grow? Yes, because if we didn't, I personally would not be able to grow. And maybe I didn't have that far to go because I grew up in a very progressive space and open-minded and always willing to, like, learn and find out what other people are going through. But I just feel like I hate that white supremacy always can fucking intercept some shit in my life that I really enjoy, and now I have to be, like, looking at what even now that The Office is tainted. Like, and there's not to say that she wasn't my main favorite character or something on the show, but it's just like, am I still going to watch the shows? I would say probably, or no, I would definitely still watch the old, like, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and The Office. Am I going to want to run to something she's doing new, even though I know it's going to probably be good, because I feel like she's a good storyteller, and I like the things that she makes. They're pretty quirky and different. But I will, in my mind now, I have to then think about this thing, and I want her, honestly, to come out and say, this to me is one of those times where you just come out and say, I was a part of this thing, or I said X at that time. I did not realize what I know now and why it was so hurtful and et cetera, and how it aided in these things. I feel like if you are a genuine, honest person and you actually want to do better and be better to the people around you, that you are going to want to acknowledge and be accountable for the fact that you saying that thing, you doing that thing could hurt people and not want to let them be back in your space anymore. But you're at least willing to, like, learn and not just pretend that it didn't happen. Because that's what we're literally always learning how to be with one another. So it only makes sense that we're going to fuck up sometimes, especially if how we interact with people that we may never have known before is our only idea is coming from what we are seeing being portrayed in media, because that's usually how most people are getting their first glimpse into any sort of anything that they have never experienced. But that was it. I just was annoyed about that because,
Right.
I just want to be able to binge watch funny TV without thinking about fucking white supremacy. It's just so insidious.
Well, okay, that's understandable. As for me, as far as the things that's grinding me, I slightly alluded to this. As far as my medication is concerned, it's doing a really good job of helping me when it comes to addressing. Here's a little thing about me. I have grown up in an environment in which I had to, as a survival tactic, understand what my flaws were in relation to everyone around me. I had to figure out, like, if I was annoying, if I was loud, if I was obnoxious, if I was any of the negative things that a lot of people attribute to somebody that they don't want around or don't want in their life. Now, partially, it was because of all of my flaws being pointed out. It partially was because of some level of anxiety in me, like just being self-conscious about things. But either way, it's led to me growing up into a self-aware person of various degrees depending on my development. Sometimes, like in my 20s, it led me into being self-aware in a way where I used it as a weapon of being like, oh, I'll turn up the charm, or like, oh, I want to get out of this scenario, I'll be the loudest person in the world, or it'll be like, I want everybody to understand that I'm going to be my most unabashed self, quite frankly, and therefore just be the loudest, vibrant, most person who's ever been a person ever in the world. But with every stage of my being, there's been a level of self-analysis. There's been a level of self-awareness. There's been a level of being able to figure myself out as far as what my flaws are. And because of that, I could see the flaws through the flavors of every single person that I know, both in my life and strangers and just people that I see on the side of the road, and can just make an observation and kind of guess based on certain movements and just like personalities. Like, you can make a generality about a lot of things, and I know you shouldn't, but as a survival technique, I've had to sort of figure out and fine tooth that. That's a long way of saying that, you know what? medication has been helping me address the fact that I find most people fucking annoying on one level or another just because I can see everybody's fucking flaws. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I'm not. I throw myself in there at the same time. Everyone's annoying. Everyone's obnoxious. I'm not a great people person, and that includes myself. It's not a thing of self-loathing. It's just a thing of being self-aware of every single flaw that's underneath the sun. But when it comes to it, and I will say, my medication has been helping me to not immediately jump on things or to just let things slide or to pacify things. Turns out you can actually just get to a point where you're just moving on by just not addressing things in a sarcastic way or like pointing things out in order to like, you think, me specifically thinks I'm just like, oh, let me just, cut through the tension with a thing that addresses the thing. But that just leads to more conversation, which is the opposite of the thing that I wanted to do in the first place. So now it's just literally like, okay, that thing exists. Move on, because it literally means very little in the grand scheme of things to me. It annoys the shit out of me and I don't like it, but it's literally not worth anything other than actions to get away from that thing. But the one thing I wanted to zoom in on is it's still social distancing. I know that Cuomo said that there are no longer mask mandates, and I know that people are starting to come out of the woodworks. No one knows who's fully masked up. You're half masked up. I'm full masked up. Masked up, vaxxed up. That's the way you finish the rest of the words in that, okay? But I'm full vaxxed up. You're half vaxxed up. I'm going with you to get your vaccine. I don't know who is vaxxed up. I can tell who's not maxed up. So if you're not masked up, don't come, no one come near me. That's the thing that I've said on this podcast before. I don't want strangers to approach me. We were at a park today, me, Odie, and a mutual friend of ours from Howard, H.U., you know. We're having a conversation. It's a private conversation. Odie is telling an anecdote about an encounter that she has on a train. We're saying it loudly because me and Odie are collectively the loudest things that exist in the fucking universe, okay? We just are. And that is what it is, and that's what I lean into, because if I'm going to get tinnitus in one ear because of myself, everyone else is getting it too. It doesn't even matter, right? But we're just having this conversation. It's loud, but it's not so obnoxious because everybody else is like 6 feet away from us in the park. We're beaming in the middle of the sun, but everybody else is spread out. This motherfucker comes up to us and just like somehow weasels his way in with like the absolute worst pickup line ever. I'm not repeating any of it. I'm not repeating any of the details because it doesn't matter. Do not approach me in any way. I don't care if it's like, ooh, HU, ooh, like black love, ooh, I agree with you. Don't come near me. Do not come near me. I don't know you. I barely let people that I know come close to me. And even then, you better have a free drink from me and a metal straw, because that's the only way I'm going to accept it. Also, you better have been wearing gloves, and I watched you get the drink. I watched the bartender make the drink, and at no point did any contact, because you know how bartenders will like just grab plastic straws with their dirty ass. Yeah. You know, this is post-COVID era now. I'm paying attention to exactly what the bartenders are doing. If they're touching all of those straws and then just throwing them in the drink, like, oh, it's alcohol, it washes. No, but the part that you didn't put in the alcohol is the part that's going to be on my mouth. So, no, it's disgusting. Don't come near me. Don't come close to me. Social distance, okay? So that's the thing that's frustrating me. So, but that's the thing that grinded me. Having said all of that, everything is not all doom and gloom. I think we should work our way into the things that made us happy during this time period.
I'm the baby merchant, tots are us. I give you all the service and no damn fuss. Give the baby merchant just a week or two. I'll have your baby for you.
I feel bad that you don't have headphones to be able to appreciate that song. And it's unfortunate. But anyhow, what's been making you happy the last few weeks?
All right, so I'm going to play something that I saw today that made me really happy. It's Cat Williams. He's on Joe Budden's show, who's super problematic, and I can't help the fact that that's where he was on, but his answer was very good.
What was the question?
Basically, Joe Budden was asking Cat Williams about cancel culture, and this was his response.
And once you are done with the response, if you could just sort of like elaborate a little bit as to why this made you happy. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
Without judgment and repercussion from cancel culture.
If you ask all of the people that didn't make it to the NBA, if you ask them if we just lowered the goal down another foot, they will all tell you they'd make it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes the out of bounds, but the out of bounds got to be there or you'll run up in the stands, right? So some of these things are for the benefit of everything. Nobody likes the speed limit, but it's necessary. Nobody likes the shoulder of the road, but it's there for a reason. My point is, people weren't all that extremely funny back when they could say whatever they wanted to say. At the end of the day, there's no cancel culture. Cancellation doesn't have its own culture. That was people of color. That was us policing our own culture. That was people without a voice being trashed by people just because they had a bigger name than them and more money than them and a better office than them. They could sweep them up under the rug like they didn't matter. I don't know what people we think got canceled that we wish we had back. I don't even know who are they. It's done for the reasons it's done for, and it helped who it helped. If all that's going to happen is we have to be more sensitive in the way that we talk, isn't that what we want anyway? I'm saying your job as a comedian is to please the most amount of people with your art. So if you want to offend somebody, nobody took those words away from you. Dirty bitch ain't been taken away. You can say that, but don't call somebody this word when you know this affects all of these people. Don't use the R word when you really mean people on the spectrum. Don't say this word instead of saying autistic. Don't say this word instead of saying little people. Look, if these are the confines that keep you from doing the craft God put you to, then it probably ain't for you.
Your talent
That's
is
all.
Okay, so I really love this one because Cat Williams in the video, he was doing like a Zoom home video. He looked really in the video. He looked really healthy, and I always love that because I think that Cat Williams is really, really funny, and he's had some challenges in the last few years, but I always love seeing him look really good.
Shout out to Cat Williams.
But also, I think in general, what he said was very true. If you are a comedian, not even if you're a comedian, if you are a literal person and you cannot just do the bare minimum of respecting what someone says they don't want to be called or they do want to be called, like, you have to really check yourself. Because what is it about any person in this world, regardless of how much money they make, how powerful they are, that they should not be adhering to our basic human dignity? Even if you think it's silly, it doesn't matter because it's not you. If I right now were going to order sliced watermelon with yellow mustard on it, that's a TikTok trend I've been seeing and it sounds ridiculous, but are those people not free to eat their watermelon with yellow mustard? Do I know how it tastes? No. Would I taste it? Maybe. Who knows? Do I think it sounds really weird and probably disgusting? And maybe I'll be disappointed if I do try it? Yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, that they are allowed to do that because it's just not that big of a deal, and it also doesn't impact me. So I think that when I hear a person of Cat Williams, I would say magnitude, because regardless of like how kind of underrated I think that he's been the last few years, I think he is someone that people still listen to, and that comedians coming up will pay attention to. I'm grateful for him saying that, because I think that's only going to make people, actually try harder. I know you always use that term, punching down. And I think that in general, like, we don't have to punch down in any way to be funny or to, like, give ourselves confidence. But I feel like in our culture, we have always kind of been given this oppression Olympics. Here in America, it's always like, oh, well, you should be happy you're born healthy with 10 fingers and 10 toes, and there's nothing quote unquote wrong with you, because that would be the worst thing on the earth, versus like, just happy to be born and alive and to like live your life, and anything else is like something to be grateful for. But we shouldn't be, it's not like someone, if you're able to walk and you're able-bodied, that's awesome. But someone in a wheelchair is still able to live as awesome of a life as you. But the way that our society always puts any person outside of the quote-unquote normal as like an other and someone to be looked down upon, that's the only reason why certain terms are even negative. Like, again, white supremacy, keep drinking people. It continues to contaminate every single thing that we do, our regular basic human interaction. You can't even interact with people the way you normally would, because somehow white supremacy has fucked it up. So that brought me a lot of joy.
Yes, I could tell you are filled with joy.
No,
after
but it
all
did,
of
because
this.
I thought that it was just like, he made a very great point.
Yeah, he did.
People have been sharing it and seeing it, and honestly, I feel like Joe Budden definitely needs to hear something like that.
Right,
With
yes,
all
he
the
does.
things that have been going on.
Agreed.
Throughout his musical career, and most recently
And
with
we-
his co-hosts.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with you. I would also say that it speaks to just general accountability. That's my only pushback anytime somebody complains about quote unquote cancel culture. Literally what they're quoting, literally all they're fighting back for every time is just like, I'm not coming at it with malice. I didn't mean it that way. They're always trying to cancel me because I'm a good person. Here's my thing. It's just plenty simple. At some point in the long span of your life, the world is going to change. All quote unquote cancel culture, or all any of these things is to simply like bring to the forefront accountability. Hey, you said some stuff that may have been okay in 2010 that's not okay 2020. Doesn't mean you were like a horrible monster necessarily. Yeah. It could just mean that like that was a sign of the times. The times are changing, and that's different. Like, hey, if you are what you're saying, and you're saying that I meant it in a different context or whatever, then okay, understandable, and just do better. That's all this is just a matter of just like pointing something out and doing better. All of that like getting upset and being like, well, I'm not a bad person, like I would never, is the same thing that I would say all racists say. It's just like, I'm not racist, and then as soon as you follow that up with some innocuous thing, it's like, no, that's racism. But to just summarize it and bullet point it, essentially, it's just about accountability. Just assume at some point on a long enough timeline, everybody ends up being weirdly on the wrong side of history. At some point. Not purposefully, just in a long enough timeline. 20 years from now, kids are probably going to look back at us and be like, oh, shit. They used to say this, that's not good. And then they pointed out, okay, move forward, evolve, change, be accountable, and then keep it pushing. Doesn't even have to be a whole thing. That's at least my thing. That's my thing.
And I think that people need to recognize with the internet, this means now before, let's just talk about even just on the race issues. At first, we only really ever talked about mainly in the issues of racism. It was like black and white, and then you had like Latino and white, but so many other demographics were kind of ignored and specifically in America. I can't say for everyone else, because we had something that was huge here called slavery. So like obviously that's going to be the thing that is the main tip of like on everyone's mind, because it was so blatant and everyone saw it. As time went on and there was different type of racism happening, it wasn't that they weren't there. It was just that was not what was going to be talked about mostly, because one, those groups of people they didn't have the same amount as black people in this country. And it took for them being able to get into places of power to be able to say, hey, yes, and not only being in places of power, but also being able to say what's going on without getting pushback. Now you could have literally people from any and every demographic saying, well, X is problematic because this, and people being able to hear it. So we're literally going to have to constantly think about how we talk about and understand everything. And is that something that's tedious? Sure. But at the end of the day, we are living in a global society, and it would be impossible for you to understand the idiosyncrasies of literally all these nations and states. So the more we get the more we're going to be interacting with people and learning about these different things. We're going to have to change our mind and recognize, like, you don't just have to study about maybe a culture when you're going on a trip there, but when you see something, like, you're going to have to do a little bit more digging. And if someone calls you out on something, just like, as you said, be accountable, because I think that we also have to put the idea of restorative justice. And I've been reading Marima Kabe's book. I think that doing this till we're free, I believe is the title. I might be a little off on it. I'll put it in the notes. But it's basically about restorative justice and abolition. And I think that all of these things are, for us to think about abolition on a greater scale, we have to think about the restorative justice that we have in these smaller moments. How can we do better after we fucked up? And how can the world actually allow you to repent and revitalize or imagine who you are in this new space, and not having to be forced into this box of whatever it could have been forever. But that is a group effort. It is not me. If I did something, I had to be accountable, and the world has to also be open-minded to let me back into the fray. But like, I still have to do the work. And I think that's the thing that people are really going to have to be paying more closer attention to, and just be mindful of things, which is why consuming media across the spectrum of your interests and things that are outside of your comfort zone are important, because you'll be able to see, oh, this is what this person from this demographic that I'm not a part of and have no connection to feels about X, so I should be mindful of that. And I was really thinking about that this week when I was watching Special, the show on Netflix, because I think that it definitely touched on the way able-bodied people, regardless of whether they have a invisible disability or not, can sometimes interact with people who are not as able-bodied, or have something that's more like a clearly visible thing that's different than other people. And I think that we just have to always be mindful when we are around people that are different than us, not in a way of like pitying or anything like that, but just taking a beat. And I know that might be hard, especially when you're neurodivergent, because we are known to blurt things out. But I think that it's just like, it has to be a practice that you do, or else you're never going to get good at it. And yeah, but that was it. What about you? What made you happy?
Yeah, that was everything that made you happy this week. Two things, just real quick, made me happy. One, if I'm being honest, taking this medication has been making me happy. I know I mentioned it earlier today, or earlier in this segment alone, about how, Look, normally people make me annoyed. I see the flaws through the flavors of literally every single person. Friend, foe, family, another F word, all of y'all. Every single one of y'all. I see all of your flaws. But medication-wise, it has been helping me to just straight up say, you know what? You guys should probably be self-aware and either be comfortable with who you are as a person or work on all those things or not work on those things. Like, who am I? I'm not no gatekeeper to tell you how to maximize yourself to be the best version of yourself or anything like that. I'm not some sort of like guru or anything like that. I'm just a dude who sees the things that you could be better at and the things that you personally just annoy me on, anything like that. So now it really does make me happy to sort of not have that sort of weight that I usually have as far as like wanting people to be like I'm in therapy and I want people to be their best selves because I care. It's not a matter of not caring anymore, because it is a matter of caring. It's a matter of granting the space for everyone else to do their own work as opposed for me. It's not my job at any given point whatsoever to point anything out or to say anything past if something personally affects me. So that actually just made me feel great. The second thing is that I dropped $9,000 to clear off a credit card, and I am moving forward with a budget that will allow me to get my own place in a few months. And I'm going to be more strict when it comes to what I'm paying for and the sort of expenses that I will be giving out as far as like helping people. Because I love people, help people out and everything like that. But I have a large goal when it comes to what I want in my near future and in my distant future. And now it seems actually attainable now that I've cleared off a whole wing of my debt. And I don't need anybody else's help to address that or deal with that. And yeah, that's a really good feeling and a really good space to be in.
Dramatic reverb.
That is dramatic reverb.
Oh.
And again, I really hope that we can find your headphones so that you can appreciate these drops. These drops are amazing. I'm gonna assume you want an air horn. There we go. I am feeling good when it comes to that. So that's everything that made me happy this week, and that's the entirety of the podcast. I think we could just call it.
Yes, but I also want to say congratulations. That's really amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I literally am at my most happily efficient right now, if that makes sense. I am focused. I know what I need to do, and I am not being distracted by things that don't matter, if that makes sense. There's a lot of people who I care about, and there's a lot of feelings that I will take into account in moving forward. But the smaller, tedious stuff, people are people. You either understand or you will just create a direction for me to get to an actionable item and then just move past it. Anyhow, so I think that's it. If that's everything said, then that is just it. Thank you all for listening to this podcast. And yeah, we'll see y'all later, right?
Yeah. Tell your friends.
All right. Take it easy. Thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like to contact the podcast, you can reach us via email at blackandsnerdypodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Black and Snurdy Podcast, as well as on Twitter at Black and Snurdy. You can find me, Maurice, on all social media under the handle Licorish is Legit. That's LICORISH is legit.
And you can find me on Instagram. It's ThatsOD, THATSOD.E. And on Twitter, THATSOD_E. And don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe to us. Tune in next time to the Black and Sturdy Podcast, where nerds of a feather flock together.
Remember?
Bye.
Boy.
Not yet.
No, this is keeping it. We're keeping this in. Don't forget to take your meds and your subs and drink water. Bye.
Bye.
I actually want to keep that.